Today we hear about the Sadducees in the gospel, and it says some Sadducees, those who deny that there is a resurrection, came forward to put this question to Jesus, right? But why do they not believe in the resurrection? Well, the Sadducees are very similar to the Pharisees, besides for this. The Sadducees only believed in the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which would be the Pentateuch, where the Pharisees believed in more than just the first 5 books, and they also believed in oral tradition. So these are kind of the clashing of here, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. They're both enemies of Jesus, we can tell at this point, but they want to always try to trick him. So the Sadducees come and try to trick him, saying, we don't believe in the resurrection because it wasn't in the first 5 books. But of course, Jesus is very smart. We know that, right? And also we know that Jesus believes in the resurrection. But he goes ahead and tells them, he says, well, what about your father Moses? Moses, when he encountered the bush, said, Lord. And who was he the Lord of? The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who we know are no longer in this world, but yet he is still the God of them. And God is not a God of the dead, but of the living. And so, wouldn't that make sense that there's a resurrection? And the Sadducees kind of scamper away, knowing that they've been defeated. You know, we don't have this question in the Catholic Church. Do we believe in the resurrection or not? There's no debate about this. We believe in the resurrection. We also have something to our advantage that maybe the Old Testament didn't, right? That the Sadducees and Pharisees didn't have. We have the New Testament. We have the story of Jesus Christ, who resurrected, right? He died, and 3 days later, he rose. So there should be no question at all if we believe in the resurrection. We do, at least in our mind. And we want to believe it in our heart. But do we live our life in a way that we actually believe that there is a life after this world? That there is something greater than this world? In our thoughts, yes. But in our actions, do we live it out? I may have shared this story with you one time before, but it's a story of Brother Alphonsus Martel. Brother Alphonsus Martel was a teacher at Cretan-Dereham Hall. He passed away, I think, maybe 6-7 years ago. But he had been at Cretan-Dereham Hall for a very long time, and everyone in my family knew of Brother Martel because we went to school there, and we always worked for him during summers. We do work study at Cretan-Dereham Hall to help pay some tuition, and he was in charge of the outside grounds. But Brother Martel, when you were a freshman at Cretan-Dereham Hall, you would be very scared of him because he'd always yell at you. Not in a bad way, but he'd say, hey, young Carlson. Call me young Carlson sometimes, right? Your shoes aren't shiny enough. Really? Really, brother? Or, your belt buckle isn't shiny enough. Okay, now we're getting a little ridiculous. But Brother Martel would try to inspire fear amongst all the class and freshmen. When you got to know him, though, you really started to appreciate him, especially his quirky sayings. And one of Brother Martel's sayings was this, that he's never seen a U-Haul following a hearse. Think about that. Have you ever seen a U-Haul following a hearse? No. Then when we move, what do? You go ahead and you get the moving trucks, you move everything. When we move from this world to the next, there's no need for a U-Haul. There's none of that needed. Why? Because we can't take what we have from this world and bring it to the next. But so often, we live only for this world. Why? Why do we only live for this world sometimes? Because we have doubt sometimes, each and every one of us, if the resurrection actually will happen for us. If there is something greater than this world. It can be tempting sometimes to live for this world completely, right? To give everything. So I'm going to build up as much as I possibly can in this world. I'm going to live this to the full, no matter how hard to live this life to the fullest, but in a different way maybe than this. But I'm just going to get everything possibly out of this world. But just in case there is something like the resurrection, I'm going to be Catholic. I'm going to be Christian. I'm going to believe in that as well. So that way I'm covered on both sides. And they say I want to give myself completely to the Catholic world as well. So then we're trying to serve 2 masters. But we know what happens when you try to serve 2 masters. You serve neither of them well. We have scripture passages about this as well. And so what it comes down to is we have to decide, what are we living for? What do we live for? Caribou Coffee used to have that slogan, What do you stay awake for? Do you stay awake for baseball? Do you stay awake for show choir? Do you stay awake for kid activities? All good things. But what do we live for? Do we live for this world alone? Because if that's the case, then we know that this world's going to end. We know that eventually we more than likely are going to die. Or do we live for the next world? In our thoughts, in our mind, in our hearts, we know what the answer should be. We know that we should believe in the resurrection, and we try to. But how do we show this in our actions? It's extremely hard to do, but it's worth it, right? The saints showed us the way. They could endure anything because they knew that this world is this passing, fleeting, a blink of the eye compared to what we'll experience with God in heaven. But that doubt creeps up, doesn't it? So what we're called to do is to take that doubt and to say, no, I believe in something greater. I believe in the resurrection. And I'm going to show it not only in my thoughts and in my belief, but now I'm going to start showing it by my actions. This week, let us show the world that we believe in the resurrection. It will change us. Your co-workers will notice. Your family will notice. But so will we ourselves when we really live for the resurrection, when we really live for the next world and not for this. And when we do this, what are we going to do? Of course, then we will have life. We will be alive. We will never be dead because we will be alive in God and in His eternal dwelling place.